Okay, good Sunday morning, everyone. The big news this weekend, of course, out of Afghanistan. United States Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl has been released from Afghanistan 5 years in custody. Can you believe that? Sergeant Bergdahl now in the custody of U.S. Army Special Forces, excuse me. And the family was notified by President Obama in the afternoon, and then they had a joint. I guess they were already in Washington D.C. There was a joint press conference, emotional press conference. So great news. Finally, some good news from that part of the world. Great news for the president politically. Obviously, he's been struggling on the foreign affairs front. He's been doing all right economically, domestically, but foreign affairs front, he has been struggling. So, some good news for him. The rebuilding in Afghanistan and Iraq has been kind of slower than expected. So, some good news for him. But finally, some good news from that part of the world. He is the last prisoner from the Afghanistan war to be released. He was released in exchange for 5 Taliban prisoners from Guantanamo Bay. So some great news on the foreign affairs front. Also, another interesting story. This is more chatter. I don't want to call this. And I will, when I have these recordings, and also on my site, I'll make it clear when there's a difference between, I don't know if you read my column about the Washington Post running with the story about those spelling bee kids off of 2 Twitter posts, and I hate that kind of journalism, and I don't want people to think that I'm trying to make a story, make something out of a story that really doesn't exist. But there has been a little bit chatter, and this is just basic kind of putting two and two together. The former Microsoft chief did buy the Clippers, the embattled Clippers from the Sterlings, and of course he's a Seattle guy. He used to run Microsoft, and people are thinking that Steve Ballmer, the new owner now of the Clippers, may move the team to Seattle. It would make sense. There is no pro basketball team in Seattle. There is two right now, obviously, in Los Angeles, and on that note, actually, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who used to be Seattle Sonics, lost to the San Antonio Spurs today in overtime. So congratulations to Greg Popovich's San Antonio Spurs. A powerful performance by 38-year-old veteran Tim Duncan. But, it would make sense. Seattle does deserve a basketball team. They have some great fans. They just won the Super Bowl this last year with the Seahawks. So it would be interesting to see how that tape shakes. I mean, I've heard from some people that there's something written in the contract that they can't move the team, but you never know with the NBA down there. They have that NBA court or whatever. They were pulling with Sterling. So we'll see how that's going. As far as the Donald is concerned, obviously a lot of news on that on the site. I've posted. I've also had a few articles, few op-eds on that. There's a few things here. First of all, he should have never owned that team, but I don't really want to go. There's a lot of chaos going on right now. I will say this, as far as Donald Sterling is concerned, if it is proven that CNN knew or should have known that Donald Sterling had some sort of dementia or Alzheimer's disease while that interview was going, I mean, that'd be nothing short of despicable, and I think that CNN should be reprimanded for that. And and I'll actually see on any commentary towards Donald, but you never know with Donald Sterling and all those people over there, what's really going on. But if CNN, and I'm only saying this because CNN always tries to play the almighty, holier than thou kind of role in the media. So if they knew something, that's not a good thing. That's not good journalism. That's not good. There's not a good precedent for anything right now. And there's too much noise and too much chatter out there, too much innuendo. And when you have news entities that are at least looked at as being respected and perceived as being respectable news outlets, doing things like that, it's not good. It's no good. So let's see how that shapes up. But I've never been a fan of the Sterling guy. I really want the story to go away. I could care less about the Clippers. I could care less about Sterling. But they've always had this kind of. Now they have more of a fan base. It wasn't like that before, but they've. Now this Los Angeles underground sort of fan base, whatever you want to call it, and again, I don't want to go into it. If I do, I'll probably get myself into some trouble that I don't need to get into. So hopefully this goes away for the sake of Los Angeles. I hope for the sake of Los Angeles they stay in LA, but if they move to Seattle, good for them. I really, as far as the Clippers are concerned, I could care less about that franchise. Now, an interesting thing is going on here as far as in Thailand, and this just came to my attention this morning. Actually, the new Thailand government, and people were saying that the military government wasn't that bad. There were photos floating all around the internet and the media with these army marshals who just took over in a coup smiling with tourists and things of that sort. But actually, they've laid down the law saying that reading is an act of resistance. And I guess a bunch of students protested. They sat in a in a city square reading George Orwell's 1984, which obviously dealt with censorship and different things, in an act of protest, act of defiance. So good for those kids. Hopefully that government, hopefully they straighten things out over there. Thailand's a beautiful place, and I hope that this they don't get too carried away with themselves with these crazy laws. Friday. Eric Shinseki resigned. This is kind of interesting with Shinseki. That was expected, but then Jay Carney actually resigned on Friday as well, and that was unexpected. And I'm thinking, and I've been listening to President Obama, speak on Shinseki, and it seemed like he liked the guy, even when he made the press conference as far as the resignation was concerned. He really had good things to say about him, and from everything I've heard, he's been well liked around a lot of circles in the administration. I think actually Carney was forced out. I think there has been a problem communicating as far as communicating the message, but also communicating some of these scandals. And I think Carney may have been the real incidental victim of this whole Shinseki thing, because I think I don't think there were too many happy people, and the press secretary is always in these tough scandals. If they don't, if things don't look good, they're the first to go, because really they're the mouthpiece. They're the ones who are trying to put that good spin on everything, and so that's quite interesting how things shaped up on Friday. I didn't expect Carney to go. That was quite a shock. Shinseki, was rumored for days was going to be gone. He did resign, and because of that whole VA scandal, which really can't blame them. And sometimes I think when these top level officials are are blamed for these things. I mean, how much? I mean, they're really just media figureheads. How much micromanagement, or how much management at all, if you think about it, can these guys really do with these individual departments? I mean, there's lazy bureaucrats, there's lazy government officials everywhere you go, and it doesn't surprise me at all that there's people who be doing stuff like this. But it's quite unfortunate that this happened. But good luck to Eric Shinseki. From everything I've heard, he's a good guy. Jay Carney, again, and it could again be one of these second term kind of things. A lot of these people like Dana Perino, Bush's press secretary, she went to Fox, and then you had all these people who, jump ship, write books, do different things. So we'll see, but I wouldn't be surprised if Carney there was some maneuvering behind the scenes trying to force Carney out, because I don't think the administration was happy with the way this was communicated. But that's just my theory. I'm not any sort of expert, so we'll see how that's going on. On that same political front, Obama's old boy Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago, the former chief of staff for the president, has proposed a tough new gun measure in Chicago. He's the mayor of Chicago, obviously a powerful mayor, being Obama's former chief of staff and campaign manager, has proposed that gun purchasers be videotaped when they make purchases. And I think that's again, I think this whole gun situation is a dog and pony show. There's really no solution out there. I do think that there needs to be stricter regulations, but again, the NRA is quite powerful. Kudos to the mayor for trying to do something here. I mean, his city, south side of Chicago right now as we speak, people are probably being gunned down. It's a war zone down there, and he needs to do something. But I really don't know where this is going to go. The NRA is too powerful, and like the conservatives say, the guns are out there. So what are you going to do? And then you get into this whole libertarian argument, by making things legal or illegal, you're going to have a competing black market, just like the argument with drugs and prostitutes. So it's a mess. Guns are out there. Again, kudos for the mayor for trying to do something, but again, who knows if anything can really be done. Earlier this week, Dr. Dre, the co-founder of a couple things. He co-founded Beats with Jimmy Iovine. His Beats company was actually purchased by Apple for $3 billion. What people don't realize about Dr. Dre, he's kind of the mastermind of various extremes of artists. I mean, from MC Hammer to Tupac Shakur, the whole Death Row Records was co-founded by him and Marion Suge Knight Jr. Suge has gotten himself obviously in a lot of trouble over the years. Dre's, while he's had all these freak sideshows that he's probably masterminded or whatever, he's kind of managed to stay above the fray and has really built an empire, and financially is doing amazing. People really don't realize that Dr. Dre is the mastermind. He is the guy who really started everything, and really put rap on the map. So congratulations to Dr. Dre for this $3 billion sale of his headphones and music company Beats. Google, this is another story that we actually had on the in our news section earlier this week, has designed a car that drives itself. The pilot program is going to begin in California this summer. It's expected to reduce accidents by 90%. I think it's a long time coming. I always said if you can have a plane that flies itself, how come you can't have a car that drives itself? Again, I think there's a lot of politics behind this, as far as a lot of entities are going to lose money. Again, it goes back to you know do you really want this? Kind of like the internet. A lot of industries want to make certain things easier. It may also affect a lot of people as far as their pocketbooks are concerned. You got insurance companies who are going to lose a lot of money. All you're going to need in the way of insurance is big companies, these manufacturers, these car manufacturers, who are going to have strict liability or products liability. Not going to need to sell it directly to individuals. There's hardly going to be any more accidents. You're going to have local governments and states are going to lose a lot of money from police ticket revenue, DUIs, things of that sort. So some of these things that again, they're promoting public safety, and I'm not saying they're not, but it is a major source of revenue for these local governments, and it's going to be interesting to see as this develops. So Google is quite powerful right now. They're one of the most powerful entities in the world, and some would say they're more powerful than most governments out there. So hopefully this does take shape soon. It'll be great to have a car that will drive. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know if I'll drive. I don't know if I'll drive this until every car out there is automatic. And the reason for that is I'm not scared to sit in this thing, if it's driving itself, but I need the control when some moron is driving, is driving drunk or driving like a maniac, and up and down. I don't want a computer trying to do that. I still need the control to kind of to make sure that I don't get I'm not cleaned up off the street, scraped off of the street after a car accident. So we'll see. I mean, I might be sold on it when more than 50% of the cars out there are automated, but I don't know. Until then, I'm gonna have to see. I can't trust having a driverless car when there's other actual drivers in cars out there. So we'll see. And then maybe that's just a control freak in me or whatever. But I don't know. I can't. It's going to be kind of scary in the beginning, but I think it's going to be a great concept. And 5, 10 years from now, we're going to be kind of looking back and laughing at all the stories we had when we were driving. We're going to think it's a pretty mundane process if you think about it. It really hasn't changed much in the last 100 years. It's basically sitting behind a steering wheel, trying to move it around. And I think it's good that finally we're taking this thing to another level. On the medical front, researchers have discovered a molecule that actually obstructs asthma attack signal. This is great news. Again, there's no cure for asthma. So what it's really doing is it's kind of obstructing the signaling before it triggers the asthma attack. So it's really just breaking the attack at the seams. So it's going to be great. That molecule obviously is going to be converted into a antibiotic or some sort of vaccine that you can really help cure this disease. It's been, it affects a lot of people, a lot more people than a lot of people out there, and it's definitely going to be, kind of good thing down the road. Hopefully, it gets created and marketed and very shortly. This is an interesting case as far as the Supreme Court is concerned. A Maryland couple is actually taking their interstate income tax cases as Supremes, and basically it's time really for the Supreme Court now to stand up. There's been a lot of talk about how the federal government, especially the Supreme Court, has been kind of weak as far as letting the states have a lot of power. Many people would argue some of the bigger states have more power than the feds. So what this couple is trying to do is they actually paid states, and I'm not sure I don't remember which state it was, but they paid a lot, their taxes in another state, and they want to deduct the state taxes that they paid in that state from their Maryland income taxes, which makes sense because it should be fair. They shouldn't be taxed twice in two different states for the same income or revenue. But the Maryland folks are saying, no, we're not going to let this happen. And now this case is going to the Supreme Court. It's going to be a really interesting case as far as determining, the differentiation between federal and state. And the reason I say federal government is because, there's always talk about raising taxes, and nobody wants to pay more taxes, but obviously there's, sometimes a need for that. And if the federal government wants to raise taxes, it's going to be hard to enforce when states are charging double in taxes when you're moving or whatever. So if this could be one measure for the federal government to kind of alleviate the tax burden by taking a little bit, power away from the states. And, so that's kind of where I'm saying there's kind of a federal state thing going on here. But I don't know. You never know how this court rules, and I really have no idea what they're going to do in this one, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So that is pretty much it as far as some of the bigger stories this week is concerned. It's been pretty busy news week. Obviously, Donald Sterling has once again dominated the news the news headlines. Hopefully, it goes like I said. I hope this thing just goes away. It's really just been getting kind of annoying. So what? Again, I want to thank everybody for visiting the site. I know you've been reading a lot of my rants and a lot of my stuff on the website, but I want everybody to realize, and I hope on certain issues I am pretty like the gun control issue, and in certain things I am pretty a man of my word. I'm very strong as far as my opinions are concerned, but I'm not one of these people who are going to lie and say I do have opinions. I know we all have opinions, and I want everybody to have an open mind, but also understand and I'm not targeting a certain audience as far as Democrats, Republicans, communists, conservatives. I don't care who you are. I want you to come on the site. I want you to understand the logic that I kind of spew out there, and I also want you to kind of just think for yourselves and try to really make some educated interpretations based on what I say. But I'm not trying to brainwash anybody. I'm not trying to create one view on things or another view. But I'm just trying to create a kind of common sense, level headed outlook on things. And then I do have my interpretations, but I'm not saying, yeah, and I'm hoping you actually disagree with me on more issues than not, because we really shouldn't agree with anybody on more than 50% of the issues. But I think that it's important for people to be able to interpret and do things on their own. And I'm a big firm believer in whatever you do, you really have to have a kind of a voice and a mind and a script of your own. You really shouldn't be following another script verbatim. And I think that's a lot of the problems that we have right now are because people are forced to kind of follow certain scripts verbatim, word for word. So if you have any opinions or questions or comments anytime, please feel free. My email is on the website. You can also you can email me. You can do whatever you want. You can follow us on Facebook, breakingnewsflashalert.com, on Twitter at Flash News Alert. Actually, I'm sorry, on Facebook it's facebook.com/breaking news flash alert, and you can email me at j@breakingnewsflashalert.com. So, it's great talking to you again. I'm going to have more of these, throughout the week. Now I know you've been reading my stuff, but now I, kind of want to put a voice behind it and maybe eventually even a face. But right now I just want you to kind of, just introduce myself, kind of explain how these things work. And if you have any questions or anything, again, like I said, feel free to email me at any time. Again, my email is j@breakingnewsflashalert.com, and hopefully we can make this pretty big. Okay? We will talk soon. Thank you.